Hello humans, and welcome to another episode of Gen X Gamer. I wanted to share this with you. This is something that I do. I put the baby to sleep, and right after she goes to sleep, I kind of just hang out, and I'm on the laptop, and I want to make sure she doesn't wake up again, and then I put her back to sleep. So I have a few minutes, and I usually go through the internet and read articles about video games. What else, right? And gives the wife a break so she can watch her Netflix. And I'm just sitting here with a baby, and let's do a read along. If this is something that you like to do, or if you enjoy this kind of content, let me know. But today's episode is going to be 10 video game consoles that had one iconic game. And this story is by Aliana Aguja, right? I hope I'm saying it right. And, I don't agree with her choices here. I really don't. Because, 10 consoles with only one iconic game. I mean, how many consoles has there been? Right? And every taste is subjective, right? We all like different things. But for me, the games that stand out are probably the games that I played the most, or the most popular at the time. So we can start off at number 10 here with Super Mario World for the Super NES. Now, to you, is that the most iconic? Right? I can tell you which one's mine. You guys can tell me which one's yours. For me, it was Street Fighter 2. Street Fighter 2 got the Super Nintendo off the deck, because at that point, Genesis was really doing a number. When it first came out, everybody's saying it's too expensive. I'm not paying that much for playing Mario again, specifically this Mario. I don't know if you guys can remember, people were saying, no, Super Mario Brothers 3 was better. I mean, there were those discussions being had, but I remember when Street Fighter 2 popped on the NES, you couldn't sell enough of those consoles and the game. So to me, that is the most iconic. All right, let's go to the next one. PlayStation 3. I mean, you tell me how you have one iconic game. And I'm not saying The Last of Us wasn't a great game, but I mean, so many of us can think of games in this generation, that are just everlasting. So many games, some of the best games, some games that are still being referenced and remade today came out on the PlayStation 3. As a matter of fact, I played Persona 5 on the PlayStation 3, and it's probably the game that I played the most amount of hours. Not the only games, but I'm just telling you what games, the kind of games I played. I played Folklore, Resistance. I mean, there's so many games, guys, and just to pick one, because maybe it was one of the better selling ones, but to me, that's not the iconic game. That I would have to, again, disagree with her on this point. All right, let's go on to the next. Atari 2600 Space Invaders. I do have to say, right, I'm not going to disagree with her here, because back in the day when it came out, it was how to play Space Invaders at home. I mean, that was the big selling point of the console, right? Specifically what I was saying with Street Fighter and the Super Nintendo. Now, it might have been different in your area, guys. I'm just telling you what my experiences was here in Los Angeles growing up, right? Or in your country. I don't know where you're watching me from. It might have been different. For the 2600, the most iconic game for me was Pitfall. That game is so influential and so underrated, right? And not credited enough in the history of video games. It's really a shame, right? That it doesn't get the recognition I feel it deserves sometimes. Okay, let's go on to the next one. Not that. Here we go. Pokemon for the Game Boy. I would have to agree. I mean, there's other games that I played, of course. I wasn't huge into Pokemon when it first came out. I got more into it after my kids got into it because they were playing on my Game Boy. Believe it or not. they got into Pokemon and they started playing on the Game Boy. And I had the game there and I played it a couple of times, but I was working, and they really got the enjoyment out of it. But I would have to say that, it's iconic for the Game Boy. For everybody else, I think it might have been Tetris, right? A lot of people that I knew, adults, were playing the Game Boy just to play Tetris. That's all they would play. It was crazy. I remember playing Mario on that, baseball. I had so many games. I had so much fun with my Game Boy, guys. But Pokemon it is, right? I'll agree on that one. You guys can tell me what. The Nintendo Wii Sports. I don't think anybody, right? I mean, that's, that console sold for this particular game. Again, I mean, that was the system seller, right? Back in the day. I mean, this had a 1-to-1 attachment rate to the console and became at its time, right? Became the biggest console ever. So I would have to agree with this one. But so many memorable games that are on that console, Super Smash Brothers. Oh, geez. Let me just turn around and look at my collection here. Oh, man. Mad World. You guys remember Mad World? That was something else that stood out to me. But anyway, let's keep on going here. Wii Sports it is, PlayStation 1. Oh, my gosh. Final Fantasy was really a big game. But was it? Right? Was it the top? Was it the most outstanding? Right, let's see what she writes here. The original PlayStation gained legendary status in part because of Final Fantasy VII. This role-playing masterpiece introduced millions to cinematic storytelling in games with unforgettable characters like Cloud and Sephiroth, and it not only defined the console but also brought JRPGs into the global spotlight. I do agree it's a very influential game, right? That I do agree on. But for the PlayStation, there was so much. There was so much. I mean, you could say that of other games on the PlayStation, right? If you remember when the PlayStation came out, what was the big seller? What was driving the PlayStation sales when it first came out? It was Mortal Kombat. I don't know if you remember. Mortal Kombat was you couldn't get anywhere else, guys. And I have Persona games. The Persona games was what I loved on the PlayStation, and the Street Fighter, the Tekkens, the Metal. Geez, you had Metal Gear. You had Twisted Metal. There's so many. I think when it comes to these type of consoles, it shouldn't be one. It shouldn't be one game that actually says that is the iconic game. I think there's like a top 10 list at least of iconic games when it comes to the PlayStation 5. I'm getting excited here. I better put down my voice before I wake up my kid. All right, let's go on to the next. What else have we got here? Battery? No. Halo 3. I would say Halo. I wouldn't say Halo 3. Probably Halo 3 was the best, right? But the console blew up because of Halo, right? I mean, that's what made, if you want to say Master Chief is the mascot, for the console or, the franchise. Yeah. Again, but there was great games. There's amazing games on the Xbox One. But, I would say the Halo series, I would agree. I wouldn't say Halo 3 specifically, because that's not where most people fell in love with the console. But, I don't, especially in the Xbox 360. At first when I saw this, I thought it was just only the Xbox. But the Xbox 360, do I want to say Halo 3? Maybe, but there's so many great games. Again, I mean, you need to have like at least a top 5, top 10 list for these consoles. They had more than one iconic game. I mean, you guys can tell me. I mean, I can turn around in my collection here, and there's, oh my God, I played BioShock, for example, on the 360. I mean, just to name one. What about Call of Duty? I mean, it existed on multiple platforms, right? But you can identify, you could say Bulletstorm or you could say the 50-cent. I mean, there's just too many for me. Again, I think this requires a list. Whether you're talking about the Xbox 360 or Xbox One, maybe the original Xbox. If you want to say just Halo, I would agree. But again, you guys tell me what you like. PlayStation 2, come on. Again, for the PlayStation 2, it had so many great games. I mean, you could say, geez. I mean, if you're going to say Grand Theft Auto, Vice City is the one that blew up, right? That was really when everything broke loose, right? A new form of Grand Theft Auto came out. You know, because you could talk about Odin Sphere, Persona 4. I mean, you could just go down the line. Shin Megami Tensei, Nocturne. I mean, geez. Again, you need, for the PlayStation 2, I'm telling you, you could have a top 20 list of iconic games. This PlayStation, I mean, I could, and again, it's just my preference, right? But things that I remember the PlayStation 2 for, like crazy things like State of Emergency, that was a great game, right? The art types, I mean, yeah, there's just too much there to say one game. Right? Let's go forward. Sega Dreamcast, Sonic Adventure. Is that it? I would say, I mean, if you want to say, again, you can at least do a top 10 for the Dreamcast, but if I was to name one game, I would probably say Shenmue. That would be my, right? There's been plenty of Sonics, but Shenmue was a difference maker. Right? So, I mean, that's my opinion. There's plenty of iconic games on the Dreamcast, and again, you look at it and it could be different for everybody. Somebody could say Crazy Taxi, somebody could say Tony Hawk. Some people could say it's really the 2K series, where a lot of people buy Dreamcast specifically to play football. I mean, those are some huge sellers on the platform. But anyway, guys, that's, again, I mean, I don't know how you just pick one. And if you're going to pick one, why pick that one, right? I would say Shenmue. I don't know what you guys would pick, but I would go with that. And for number one, the Nintendo 64 Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time. I'm not saying it's a bad game, but is it the most, what does it say? The one iconic game? No. I would say no. Because what made the N64 different is that first release of Mario 64. Mario 64 changed the game. Mario 64 changed the industry. Right? They got it right. That's where it began. So even though The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time is a great game, and I'm not downplaying it at all, but if I was to say iconic, what made that console iconic, I would say, Mario 64. And of course, you guys can disagree. You guys can say it was Banjo-Kazooie. I don't know. Taste is subjective. I'm not saying she's completely wrong, but you could have at least a top 5 for the N64. You could. I think there's an argument to be made, right? But tell me what you guys think. I hope you enjoyed this first episode of Read Along with Gen X Gamer, right? And if you like this kind of content, let me know and I'll make more. You guys tell me, what is the iconic game for those consoles? All right, guys, thank you so much for joining me. I'll catch you on the next one. Take care. Hey, guys, thank you for watching. Hey, you made it this far. You might as well subscribe. Make sure you hit that like button and join if you can.